Rotogrinders, 5 o'clock on the East Coast, talking some baseball. It's a short slate, not a lot going on. 6-gamer, getaway day, travel day for many teams. Early start as well as far as the slates. We're not going to 7:05. We're going to 6:40 or 6:45. I believe it's 6:45. It's not just me. I got Kirk Dees here. Kid Yahoo. Kirk Dees, how are things in your world? How do you feel about the slate this evening? We got plenty of time to break it all down. What's on your mind?
Oh, it's a pretty interesting slate, actually, because there's a ton. I mean, it feels like a ton of pitching, and there only feels like a couple of spots that you really want to attack for bats. So, and it's a small slate, so it's probably going to be a lot of chalk. And, but I think, how you go at pitcher kind of defines the whole thing. I mean, there's plenty of different ways you can go, but I'm doing well. You sound a little under the weather, Dean.
Yeah, man, I'm giving it a go. I'm a gamer, whatever you want to call it, but I'm playing a little bit under the weather. Hopefully it's not too annoying as far as my voice. I guess, is it nasally? I'm not sure what you can hear, but does it sound terrible? I apologize if it does, but we're going to power on through. We're here, I think, till basically about 6 o'clock or so. We're going to yield to crunch time. Y'all get Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, 2-time millionaire winner, the author of the $1 Million Musings, Chief Justice actually stepping in. I think he was called in, somebody else that could not make it for some reason. And then you got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. As of right now, I know you have your patent pending weather system, forever patent pending. Doesn't look like there's much weather out there that's lurking, right? Where we shouldn't be concerned, as far as I can tell, not just yet.
It's not fair, Dean. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into getting the patent, and there's a lot of work involved we've been doing, but we're getting close. Tonight for weather, I don't see much. Do you? I see
no.
There's nothing. I see absolutely nothing. There's
two ballparks that have roofs. In Houston, yep. Seattle, and then San Diego should be fine. Baltimore, I don't want to say heating up, but heating up to 66, I guess.
Yeah, and it's the Mets Phillies game. It's a little bit nicer here. I mean, the East Coast all around is a lot nicer today. It's a nice day here in Boston, but 60.
Were you doing nicer because it's 69 in Philadelphia, or does that work out that way?
No, I see 68. My patent pending system shows 68. So
fair enough. How is it in Boston? It's heating up a little bit?
Yeah, it was like 60 today. Really sunny. It's nice. I was out there looking out in the water, looking over the water, nice views.
Do you live on the water?
I do live right on the water, actually.
Oh, nice.
The harbor. Yep.
All right. As far as this, like, we did lose Logan Webb. You're talking about pitchers, by the way. Logan Webb is not pitching tonight for San Fran. Are you just being made aware of this?
Yeah, I am. Wow, how long ago did that happen?
About an hour ago or so. Wow. My understanding is not available. Like, I don't think it's an opener situation. I think it's the full bullpen deal. Mauricio Lovera is going to be drawing the start there for San Fran. He's like straight, bullpen arm, not a long man. So I don't know if they have a long man set up, but it looks like it's a bullpen game for San Fran. And unless I missed something about Webb, I'm pretty sure he's just not pitching.
No, you're right. I see it.
Okay. Yeah. So it is interesting because, again, not a lot of high totals on the board. No team has got a total above 5. We got Philadelphia at 4.7 versus Taiwan Walker. Sure. That's one of the better options. One of the more popular offenses we'll see tonight. We finally saw some home runs last night in Baltimore. It's been a while. And Spencer Watkins, probably the worst pitcher on this slate, like talent-wise, taking the bump here for Baltimore.
Might be the worst pitcher talent-wise in Major League Baseball.
Ooh, that's a bold statement. There's got to be somebody worse than Spencer Watkins, right?
I mean, I just said he might be.
So, you know what's weird is like we both agree that like he's bad, but like, you know, he's got an ERA of 2.55. Announcers in the booth is like, what a year for Spencer Watkins. This guy's got great stuff. Yeah, but he's got he's been super lucky. 5.25 as far as the Sierra. He's been protected by that ballpark to some degree. A BABIP of 211, which should, you know, that's going to get higher. That's a super lucky batting average of balls in play. Hard hits, 39%, probably too high as well. We saw he got, you know, beat up pretty good last year as well. And Minnesota getting Buxton back in the lineup. He had a day off yesterday. And then I guess Houston, right, versus Tariq Skubal, who, you know, is a good fantasy pitcher. At least he'll get you some strikeouts. But, you know, that Houston lineup obviously is really, really solid. Jose Altuve, by the way, talk about being a gamer. I was congratulating myself for being a gamer and showing up for today's show. Did you see Altuve yesterday? Hit a ball off his nuts, and he came out of the game. He left the game, but he's back today.
Yeah, I was expecting him out, and he is back.
Do you think, I don't know how to quantify this, you know, Derek Carty, the bat, is there something like he can't be 100%, can he? He can't be feeling amazing. Like it was.
I mean, he's in the line. He's in the lineup, man. You gotta assume he's all right. He's good to go. He's a gamer, you know.
I would downgrade his projection by like, I don't know, 3%. Not knowing anything else, but just watching that video, because it was square, dead on, like that, you know. And there's nothing you can do. The trainer always comes out for these things. Like a lot of times it's the catcher, and the trainer, like, what are they going to? They just kind of console, basically.
Someone who's been kicked in the nuts many times. It's all right. The next day, it's fine.
Metaphorically or literally?
No, literally.
Oh, I mean, any particular circumstance stand out?
No, just fights. You know, I grew up in the tough streets, you know, as a kid.
Was it like Good Will Hunting?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's the way I don't know. That's kind of the people think of Boston that way. That's legit. That's not like a made up facade.
Oh no, it's for real. You know, these streets are for real, Dean.
All right. Yeah, so 6 gamer, plenty of time. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do you subscribe? Turn on those notifications. Yeah, Eric in chat saying this is why they wear a cup. Does every player wear a cup? I don't think.
I don't know cup status. I don't know. So I got to assume that he had a cup in, and just was still like went down, but maybe not. Probably.
Yeah,
not,
I mean,
right?
Catchers obviously wear a cup, and there's only so much the cup can do. We've seen many times catchers just get like, you know, floored, but and it's just not. You just got to take some time, and you know, every once in a while they get swapped out.
We see it every week in UFC. Low blows.
Is that like a cheat move? Does some of the guys do that intentionally?
Yeah, they stop it. They give them up to 5 minutes, but it's usually only a minute to rest, and then they warn them and say, you know, keep them up, guys, and then they get back at it and they try to kill each other.
We got Colosi in chat. What's going on, Colosi? I see you saying hello. You're partaking in the conversation.
I'm a big Colosi fan, believe it or not. His mother, I used to love doing shows when he'd get his mother on in the background. It was hilarious. I think Colosi's a hilarious dude.
I don't remember his mom making appearances. Okay. Would she give like home run picks and things like that?
No, just life advice, more or less. We should have a quick comment about life advice.
Life advice number 1: don't get kicked in the nuts. Try your best to avoid that. Do not put yourself in circumstances where that may happen. Baseball, you can't really avoid it, I suppose. Throw your comments, whatever you want us to talk about in the YouTube as well. We appreciate that. And again, we're here for the next 50 minutes or so. We yield to crunch time. We got Dave Potts, we got Will, we got Kevin Roth. Plenty of time to talk about this slate. 6 gamer. Let's start with the pitching. You kind of alluded to it. DK has some weird pitching prices. Aaron Nola just like shouldn't be 8K under any circumstance. I don't know what up with that. Which is kind of like forcing ownership to some degree. And then, you know, Robbie Ray is 8.8K, and he's been not great this year. Especially the Ks have been down pretty severely. Now, I think if you look at the swinging strike rate, maybe the Ks are, he's due for some positive regression there when it comes to strikeouts, because I was digging into it with 12% strikeout swinging strikes, and his K rate is at 20.8%. Should be a little bit higher than that. McClanahan seems like the really interesting tournament player because, hey, don't look now or look. Do you know, Kirkies, what McClanahan's K rate is on this season?
I do.
It's high.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's 39.3%.
Yeah.
It's high. If you look back to last season, it's a little bit, much lower. It's 29.3%. I mean, he's been ridiculous so far. So you got to keep riding this guy, but his price is up everywhere. So, and I'm assuming that will regress some and come back down. I don't, that would be incredible if he maintains a 40% K percentage on the season.
Do you happen to have the ownership projections up right now as far as the pitchers? Because now I'm opening my pages. It took me a second to get there, and I'm now just saying words and filling in time.
Which you know what? You did a great yesterday's show with Chop and Blender was just outstanding. Like, especially for Chop, he got to just sit there and make a couple of jokes, and then and you guys went off the rails talking about everything but the slate. And I thought, man, what a great show. I laughed my ass off several times in that show. So
we covered all the relevant stuff though. And like sometimes we have like an hour and a half to work with, depending on what time we start. So, I mean, you really can't go an hour and a half talking. You're going to run out of things to talk about. So you kind of need the show to be derailed to some degree. And I think the chat likes that. I think they like when then you get it right back on the tracks. You sort of figure it out. And Chop's good for that too, because
he was Chop is the one who likes Vito from The Sopranos and the Johnny Cakes, and he was throwing it on me. He was saying it was me, which I didn't appreciate. But we all know Chop loves his Johnny Cakes.
I like Johnny Cakes. I like Vito. I'll take it if you want to throw it at me my way. I have no issue with that. I'm more of a Bacala guy. Bacala was just the best. By the way, you said something in chat. I don't know if we want to derail the show just yet. Maybe we'll tease this for a few minutes. You were at a Lisa Lampanelli show, and you was at some point.
This was fresh out of college. I was in my peak, my prime back then. I hadn't discovered DFS, where we just sit inside for 7 days a week, staring at a TV screen and ordering takeout.
Yeah.
Life was much different. I was going to the gym all the time, everything. So she kept calling me. No, I definitely had a girlfriend.
Okay.
She was with me at the show, I think. But so she kept calling my friend Michael Goldberg. So she nailed it. She kept calling him a Jew bastard like this every time. So she would refer to him she would refer to him in the show every single time. And then she kept calling me Nick Lachey, which was a compliment. I take it, I don't care. And so then she said she did something, and then she stopped the show and she put on me, and she said she gave me a shirt, and she said, no, here, you have to take off your shirt and put on this shirt. And I did. And I was and then I went, it was funny. I don't know. It was just part of the show. I don't know how it got, it was because we were in the front, and so she kept, it would be like every 2 minutes she would go back to us about something. Like it was pretty funny.
She's known for crowd work. I regret asking you this question to tell the story, but
I mean, that's the truth. That's what it is,
All right, so ownership stuff on DK. We have, the Nola thing we talked about. 8K for Nola. I understand the Mets matchup's not necessarily perfect, but I mean, 8K, it's certainly built in. It's baked in. That's just too cheap for Aaron Nola. I mean, he's showing it. 6-game slate, 46% ownership. That's a massive, massive number. We are seeing McClanahan getting 38% ownership, which I don't know, man. I guess, yeah. And that seems, I thought it was going to be a little bit lower, and it will be lower on FanDuel. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a second. Robbie Ray, significant discount. I guess it's significant. $900 difference as far as McClanahan down to Ray, and the ownership are looking at about a 3% difference. Urquidy for Houston's not special, not a strikeout savant type guy, but he can probably guile his way to 5-ish innings and get the W. Jesus Luzardo has been mostly really good this year. He was one of the worst pitchers in baseball last year, but everybody knew he had the ability. He was traded, the Marlins traded Starling Marte, basically a rental for him. And he's, so far looking like an awesome deal. Like Oakland probably couldn't use Luzardo right now. They went for it last year, and now they got nothing to show for it, obviously. Is Nola that's correct, right? 46% ownership on Nola on DK. Like, it's hard to get away. We lost Webb also, who's not like amazing, but like a good pitcher. If anything, a good real life pitcher. How are you seeing the slate as far as the pitchers? Because it's pretty clear who the good ones are.
All right, it's pretty easy. I mean, there's a lot of good ones. So I'm a little upset that Webb is off the slate because I did like him, even though his extremely low K percentage so far this season. But we'll see what happens with him going forward. But anyway, Aaron Nola is too cheap. We know that, right? Like, he's a bona fide stud. In his last start, it was the Mets. So this is the only thing that a little bit worrisome is this is his third time in such a short period now seeing the Mets. And but he was great. He the pitch count is fine. 94 pitches in his last start, a 33% call strike whiff, 9 Ks against the Mets. But Chop nailed his BVP call of the day with Pete Alonso on that day. Alonso took him deep, but that happens. But basically, everything was working. It's with him. He's got a decent fastball, but he's got an incredible curve, and so those were getting strikes all game. So you have to imagine it probably again. I do worry a little bit now that it's in Philly and the weather is a little bit nicer. It's like 68 degrees according to my patent pending weather system. So that he's too cheap. Robbie Ray, I'm on board with. Now, and I know Cheese doesn't like what he's seen so far. But the long-term track record is still there. I'm fine with him. He had a rough start in his last start, and it was command. It was all command because you expected more about from Miami, but he did get 8 Ks. The velocity was trending up because it was it was down a couple of ticks, and so now he got a like a 1 mile per hour high. He went from 93 to 94, which is close to last year. So he's trending in the right direction. He just needs more command, and I'm optimistic with him overall. So I hope he puts it all together tonight. If he doesn't, then I get it. I mean, that's the risk you take with him, right? It's been the same story forever with Robbie Ray. It's like he's, been incredible. He's been terrible. There's been games where he just cannot get a strike call, and his slider's not working, and because he's got a nasty slider. So I'm on board with him. What I was kind of shocked is that, the Rays lineup now, I mean, it doesn't have that many Ks in it. It's kind of a low percentage K, that's never been the case with them. Overall, they kind of strike out, at a higher than average level on the season this year, but not against left-handed pitchers so far. But there are four real solid Ks, which I like to see whenever I'm like looking at a pitcher and, we go into plate IQ and we see the 20.9% there for the K percentage. And we're like, oh, that's not that good. I mean, it gets weighed down with a 9.8% from Wander Franco and Yandy Diaz. I like to see that at least there's actually 5 really high strikeout bats in there. So I'm good with it. Like that's who he's going to be striking out tonight.
It's also front loaded with contact guys too, which is not ideal either. And we know the official lineup is just a projected lineup. But like you said, Diaz leading off projected 13.5%, Wander Franco 9.8%, and the big K guys are at the bottom. You really want to see Kiermaier in there. You want to see Zunino as well. Plenty of power, but he'll miss a ton. And I presume
Brandon Lau and a Rosarina.
Yeah. And then this is a projected lineup, and it's probably going to look very similar to this. And you're right. Wander Franco being there, and Diaz playing mostly every day. Ramirez has been a contact guy too, as well as Margot, especially against lefties. Yeah. And as far as Robbie Ray, if you look at last year, he was awesome last year. And there used to be the old Cheese rule. You mentioned Cheese. Whenever Ray's popular, you stack against them. Whenever nobody's playing, you're supposed to play him, be over the field. I don't know if that's still the rule, but like last year, 32% strikeouts, 6.8% walks, which is awesome on both accounts. This year, the Ks are down to less than 21%, and the walks are almost 10%. somewhat troublesome, but small sample stuff. And yeah, I'm not freaking out either. Just interesting to note. And you're probably going to get him, if you're looking at our stuff, like McClanahan's going to be played ahead of him, as far as we can tell.
Yeah, and then we've got more. So first of all, with Luzardo, the kid's a freaking stud, and we knew that. He comes from a really high pedigree. There was a lot of reasons for the bad season. I'm sure he wasn't happy about being traded when, he came up with Oakland, but
no, he was happy. He's from Miami.
Okay.
But I think he was, I assume, that's his hometown.
When somebody doesn't want you though, you know what I mean?
Well, you can look at it both ways.
And then he started, then he performed so poorly. But anyways, regardless, this season he looks absolutely amazing. Have you seen what he's working with?
He's been great.
97 miles per hour on his fastball. So the heat is up. He's getting a bunch of swings and misses on his curveball, which is really good. So he's got a real good arsenal of pitches to mow people on. He's going to continue to get better. He's going to be an absolute stud. So I'm on board with him. And from there, there's Urquidy, who just has the matchup and got a lot of swings and misses in the last game. He got 16 swinging strikes, but against Toronto, which is a really solid team to do that against. But I don't think we can count on that long term, but it's all about the K matchup. That's the one really strong strikeout matchup on the slate that we have tonight is Detroit. And so you got to give them a boost there. I mean, they're striking out 25% on the season so far against right-handed pitchers or left-handed. Wait, he's
Urquidy's a righty.
Yeah, Urquidy's already. Sorry, I had pulled up something. Yeah, against right-handed pitching, so we're all good there. Yeah, so I'm on board there. He's also dirt cheap on FanDuel, so I'm like I'm wrestling the idea of like, do I want to? I'm not playing McClanahan on FanDuel. Just because I'm prioritizing some of the bats tonight, and I think I can get the high strikeout game with Ray, and I'm fine taking the risk reward with him. But I'm also debating going down to Urquidy and really loading up, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm curious. FanDuel specifically, you're talking about like what are you doing with that savings on Urquidy? Because how many bats do you absolutely really feel like you want or need, or you're going to be like missing in your lineup? What cost? But you're costing yourself like one or two big bats, but you can there's still some pretty good prices over there where I think you can still make a pretty good lineup with Ray, with McClanahan,
Okay, so you got to factor in the quality start, the win, the higher potential for the win and the quality start, and the fact that he had 16 swings and misses in his last game, and the fact that it's Detroit with a 25% K lineup. So. And there are bats that I want. So I can do like a full Minnesota stack, which is going to be chalk, but I'm looking at kind of the smaller field stuff. I can layer that in with my two favorite Philly bats against Taiwan Walker, which is Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, right? Walker, you really want to play lefties against him, and we're back in Philly. So, and he's someone that we can definitely attack tonight. So I love that. And then you can even pick out your favorite, another favorite bat you want somewhere. There's a lot of choices. Like Machado is expensive, but you can get him in there at third. If you think Bregman's a good play, you can do a lot if you play Urquidy.
Yeah, I'm pulling up one of my Urquidy lineups I made on FanDuel, and it's got Bregman, Schwarber, Harper, and Yordan Alvarez. You get anything, all the studs. So you can get Buxton as well, or swap one of those guys out for Buxton. Let me see if I pull up one of my McClanahan lineups. What do they look like? I got Schwarber and Hoskins. Hoskins not that expensive. Buxton also in there too. You're costing yourself a little bit, obviously. I'm not really sure either. So I'm MMEing tonight on FanDuel. I just figured I'd have some fun with that. And we'll see how. It's not necessarily my world, but that's what I'm doing as far as the slate. We'll dip our toes in. On DK, I'm playing some hand builds, single entry stuff like that. But that's what I'm doing as far as FanDuel.
Wow. Chat is bananas. We got. Not only do we have Colosi, now the two-time Millie Maker winner, Head
Dave Pops?
chopper.
Oh.
No, sorry. The other one.
Did you get a fresh haircut? You should have a
They
big
both
show.
they both look similar with a hat off, though. It's tough to tell between Chop and Cheese.
Do we ever see Chop without a hat on?
That's the at the RG basketball game, he wore a hat. They're on the court like that. You got to be some kind of crazy lunatic to play basketball in a hat on. I don't know.
I don't want to go to the guy with the hat.
Yeah, there's got to be a reason for that.
Do you know? I mean, is this like your white whale? Is this what you want? You want to see Chop without a hat on? Have you ever seen it before?
Not only me, I think all the people want to see this. I'm pretty sure we did a show and people were chiming in. They were asking what shampoo does Chop and conditioner does Chop recommend? Kind of inferring that maybe there is no need for shampoo or conditioner.
But shout out to Terry Bradshaw, who was the spokesman for what's the haircuttery place? What's the one you see in the mall? What's the name? Like that? It was a Fantastic Sam's. They had a bald guy doing their. Maybe it was Scott Van Pelt. It doesn't matter. It's so weird to have a bald guy being the spokesman for a haircutting place. But that's what's just kind of popped in my head. But one of these days, maybe next. Look, if he wants to wear a hat, let him wear a hat. That's his own thing. You know, it's okay. I'm not going to pull Lisa Lampanelli and say you better take your hat off.
Chop's claiming he needs to keep his image private so he doesn't get bombarded in public.
Maybe he has a tattoo, like a Bam Bam Bigelow type tattoo on his head. I mean, he's ashamed of years later. I don't know.
No, I have another friend with a big spider on the back of his neck going on. I thought that was pretty aggressive for a tattoo.
I mean, look, it's your face. Do whatever you want with it, but your neck, and that's just a bold decision, man. I couldn't get there, but hey, man, if it makes you happy, get yourself a spider on your neck. Does anyone think Cheese sounds like Steve Phillips? Steve Phillips, former manager, like GM or something like that. I never really thought that before, but I don't know exactly what Steve Phillips sounds like. He's on Sirius XM, the MLB channel. Give me a summary as far as the pitchers. You mentioned Luzardo. He's in the tournament mix, of course. Probably not going to be my single entry guy, but and he's facing a Padre team that isn't great, but they're also not a great matchup for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one really strong matchup for strikeouts tonight, and that's with Urquidy and Detroit. Everyone else is lacking. I mean, the numbers will show you that. But I mean, McClanahan will be fine. It's just tough to pay for McClanahan. I can't imagine he continues on with the way he is, but we'll see.
Do you know McClanahan in every start this season has at least 7 strikeouts?
Yeah, of course.
11 last time out, 7, 9, 8, 7. And also he's doing that while only throwing 85, 90 baseballs. So he's not maxing out to 100, still a young arm there, kind of sort of somewhat kid gloves in Tampa, but he's just been crazy efficient. He's just been super awesome. He seems like a great tournament play. On Fanduel as well. What do we have as far as the ownership for him? Of course, only rostering one pitcher over there. We are showing him with basically the highest ownership. Him and Nola tied. Nola's 9-9, McClanahan's 10-1, and that's interesting. And Ray, you're going to get discount. Basically, we have chopped all three: 21, 21, and 20, and then Urquidy at 15%. Luzardo getting about 10, and that's it. You can play Archer on DK if you really want to open stuff up, but I don't know if you want to do that. I'm not sure.
No, you don't want to do that. You do not want to do that. I know that's the popular. I mean, obviously that's everybody gravitates towards that because you look down and see where's the cheapest you can go, and then you see Baltimore strikeouts, and then you're like, can Chris Archer maybe but no, Archer he is dust. So my view with Archer. So first of all, he's sitting about 93 or a little bit less on his fastball, and he's a 2-pitch pitcher. He always has been, and he's always had a slider, a really good slider to bail him out. His slider in his last start, he threw 33 of them, and he got just 3 called strikes or whiffs on that. So the writing is on the wall with him. So I think he's probably going to get shelled tonight, to be honest with you. But then again, it's Baltimore.
Yeah. And they also don't push him is the other thing. He's barely pitched in the last couple of years, reclamation project. Like he was once awesome on Tampa. I loved Archer in Tampa. He was what was he the guy that he was like a part of one of the worst trades we've seen in the last so many years?
The Pittsburgh,
yeah.
Pittsburgh always.
The Pirates, man, they do not have to develop their players, their pitchers specifically. But yeah, Archer's thrown no more than 79 baseballs. He's not pitched beyond 4 1/3, but he is kind of sort of priced for that. But know that there's a definitive ceiling. Hey, Curtis, we want to mention Stat Hero in case you haven't heard, in case you're not aware. Stat Hero, it's like a unique fantasy sport platform that allows users to compete against the house, not against other players. You can do head-to-head style. Just beat the lineup they're presenting against you. And we were talking about this one pre-show and some of the options they were throwing out there. We were taking a look at the site, and some of them were like for players on a different slate. I think Vladdy was in there as well. You also can do there's survivor pools, which I love the survivor contest, like that DK used to hold them, Fanduel used to hold them, where you just like basically they were like 50-50s, just getting to finish the top half, you advance, finish the top half, you advance, and eventually would turn into like a small tournament. Do you remember those? You play those?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they were great. I mean, they haven't been a thing for like 4 or 5 years or so. They were perfect for my way of playing as well, too. I've not seen how Stat Hero does their survivors, but I imagine it's something similar. Feel free to check it out. We have the promo code GRINDERS for that's GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. So you can jump into the action and play tonight. Do we have anything, Curtis, as far as the slate this evening? You just got to beat their lineup. It's like a 2v2, a 3v3. Sometimes it's like 1v1. I just went on the site today for the first time, to be fair. I've not played there. Yeah.
So I joined it. And so they wanted picks for today for this show to upload, and we have to upload them through the producer so that there's like a time sensitivity there. And they still had like the Toronto game, they still have for most of their like included, like Vlad was included in most of them, but there was a couple of them I saw, and they're probably adding more. And by more, that's basically you're just do a head-to-head against them. They show the lineups, and you can see that it's just 2 players or 3 players, a 3v3. Or I think they have 4 and stuff, and you just kind of cruise around and see who do I think I can beat, and it's salary based as well, so it's not just pick any players. It's 2. So the one that was ready that I could play against was Bregman and Kyle Schwarber for tonight, which is a pretty good lineup from them for hard to beat for 2v2. But basically I just looked at it and I couldn't get some of the players I wanted because of the salary cap, but the bat, if you just compare the bat projections, who are supposed to be the best in the industry, that are the best in the industry, in my opinion, I could beat it with leaving some salary. It looks a little riskier for sure, especially for head format, because Buxton, sure, that's a great right. You tell me Buxton can beat Schwarber for sure, right? As a favorite to beat is a favorite to beat Schwarber in this matchup against Watkins, but. Then I could get the one that I was a 100 off of Chop's favorite player, Jazz Chisholm. And so I couldn't fit him by 100, but I could fit Soler, and Party's got a good projection on Soler in the bat. So basically it's the bat versus Stat Hero tonight, 2v2. Mine projects better via the bat, so we'll see how it goes, and I'll keep monitoring this. And in Cardi we trust.
Altuve, Arenado, and Brantley is like the 3 players they have, and you gotta face them and build your lineup, like you said, with a salary. That's one of the options. And like I'm okay picking on Altuve and like his sore genitalia area. He's got to be wounded to some degree. It's all I'm saying. There's only so much. It's got to still be painful, I imagine. It was a direct hit. Give me your favorite stacks tonight. Who we stacking up? It's 6 gamer. Oh, the chat was talking about making fun of me as far as MMEing. I didn't fully like build my lineups with 4v4, but they're combinations of teams. Just to be clear, when I was messing around with the lineup builder, and I had some fun, and we'll see how it turns out this evening. But we'll probably lose our first time out doing this, but we got like 100 lineups or so in the $5 on FanDuel. But your favorite stacks tonight. I mean, I think the chalk stacks are Houston, Minnesota, and Philadelphia. That's the top 3 on the podium. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the top three. So if you look over on our own smash percentage, the DraftKings top MLB stacks and values page, I always check that out because the nice thing is it shows ownership. So it shows smash percentage and it shows ownership. So the leading the way, if you're just going by smash percentage, they've got Philly leading the way, very close to Minnesota. I prefer Minnesota personally, but like them both. But again, all I really want from the Phillies are the two big bats. I just want Harper and Schwarber. And Schwarber is a chop premier selection of the day today. He
BBP?
Yeah, he messaged me before the show and he said, make sure you tell people I'm on Schwarber tonight. I said, all right, I'll do it. Some 13 at bats, 5 homers.
Oh, wow.
against Walker. I mean, how can this one lose?
You got to hit the lock button, right? Like,
Yeah.
you hit the homer, like what is that by my UCF math? Like 40% of the time, give or take?
Yeah, 40% of the time, works every time.
Yes, it's Sex Panther.
Yes, sir. So those are the top stacks, but they're going to be the top owned too. So you want to get a little different. I'm interested to see if St. Louis comes up a little bit now against this bullpen.
Who wants to pick? You know, the bullpen's always going to have like the right arms out there in the right situation. This was like some long man that's terrible, I'm not aware of, but I don't like bullpen games as a general, like picking on them as a general thought. But go ahead, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I mean, I do. I mean, I certainly like it better than picking on Logan Webb.
Okay,
for sure. And I mean, you're going from an elite arm to a bullpen game, and so there's a big difference there. And you know, it just takes one of these guys to get in some trouble and start, you know, putting some hits together. I mean, it's I don't expect a ton of offense on the slate tonight. So then Houston is there. So I guess the best, if you factor in ownership, if you're looking for a little bit of leverage. So St. Louis is up there for a top one. The Marlins against Nick Martinez, I think that's a good one. But you know, so those are the two that my favorite is Minnesota. I do like the power heavy bats of the Phillies. I'm fine with the Philly stack as well. But if I want to be a little bit different, I think St. Louis is interesting, and I like Miami, and so I'll probably look. And I also like Baltimore, so I'll be looking to kind of play around with combos with those teams.
San Fran kind of middle of the pack so far this season as far as their bullpen, their Sierra. Looking at a 3-3-3. Let's click the active roster, see if anything changes on that. But yeah, I mean, nothing really we can see from there. And the other thing is like, if they do get imploded and somehow they're down like 7-2, you're not going to get the best bullpen arms, right? You're going to get the most vulnerable. Every once in a while you catch like a shortstop or something like that throwing in the 9th inning, which is, you really can't predict such things. For what it's worth, yeah, it looks like the active arms in San Fran are the 4th worst Sierra was. I mean, the season's so short, but just that's kind of sort of somewhat interesting, I guess. Only giving up 0.39 homers per 9. What's the homer on the fly ball rate in that? That's crazy. They must have like a 5% homer on the fly ball rate. What is it? 4.8% homer on the fly ball rate. That's wild. Of course, not a great ballpark to be, but it's supposed to be higher than that.
For who?
Anybody. 4.8% homer on the fly ball.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 4.8% home run the fly ball rate for San Fran pitchers this year, relievers, which, that kind of speaks to the entire season, I suppose. Home run the fly ball this year is around 10%, which is down from 15 or 14 or 13, depending on which recent year you want to look at. We just got some lineups in. The Cardinals, Edman leading off, Goldie, Arenado, Tyler O'Neill. Juan Yepez is batting 5th. We talked about him yesterday. Smashed 9 homers in the minor leagues so far this year. Not like a huge prospect from what I can tell, unless I was missing something. But he does have the ability to home runs, and he's super cheap if you need a salary saver. Bader, Molina, Carlson, and DeYoung. Tampa lineup is also out too. Oh yeah, if you like Robbie Ray, you want to see Kiermaier in there. He's batting 9th. Taylor Wells batting 8th. I don't know why I'm working backwards. Anito is 7th. Paredes 6th, Harold Ramirez is 5th, Arozarena 4th, Margot, Franco, Diaz working our way up. So did you want to see that? You wanted to see that if you're playing Robbie Ray, right? You're happy to see Kiermaier?
Definitely happy to see Kiermaier. Also happy to see Zunino. Yeah, this is a like I said, there's going to be bats where he's probably going to end up walking, or they're going to put some balls in play at the front there with Diaz. But then you get down to a Rosarina, you get Mike Zunino, you get a Kiermaier. Who else is in there?
Let's see. I read it backwards for some reason.
Is Walls in there?
You're talking about Taylor Walls is batting 8th.
Yep, that's a nice strikeout too.
Yeah,
this is a good lineup. So even though overall it doesn't look like a high projected strikeout lineup, it's just a couple of bats that are bringing that down.
Eric in chat is asking about any umpires that stand out, and we do actually have a couple extreme umpires. Thanks for asking. Not all the umpires are set because some of these are new series starting tonight, right? But Aaron Nola has himself an extreme pitchers umpire, as does Taiwan Walker. Of course, same game. He's not extreme umpire from just one side in theory. And Minnesota extreme pitchers umpire also. And everything else. You know what? I clicked out, I X'd out some pictures. So I'm looking, I'm like, where am I? I'm missing some pictures. And I did not reset my settings. And that's what I'm going to do now. Hey, let's go around the horn really quick. Talk about your favorite players at each position. Catcher, I know you're excited to play a catcher this evening. What do you have for me?
All right. Catcher, it's Gary Sanchez leading the way for the top overall play, but he's going to be chalky. Again, I think Watkins is definitely a tackle. I think he's one of the worst pitchers in baseball. I also am, even though they've performed decently well so far, the Orioles pen, this is a pen that talent-wise you have to keep attacking. The only other bullpen that so far, at least based on XFIP this season, that looks attackable really for tonight's slate is Detroit. So on the Astros, but let's see here. So, I mean, there's Real Muto for sure. Ryan Jeffers has just been crushing. It feels like, I mean, look at what's he on?
I don't know. He's on a heater.
He's on a heater. He's either that or he's on some enhancements. But I mean, he's got in a.
Is he taking extends?
Maybe I don't know. It's when the ball is not flying. He's already got 3 homers here recently. So I mean, I've just been getting tilted. Like, some people have been playing this guy on FanDuel, and then like when you see the catcher catch you with a bottom of the order catcher in their position, there's nothing more painful. But I mean, yeah, and Zunino basically, right? Like, so yes. Ray has always had home run issues. I mean, that happens, and it doesn't even. I don't care if he gives up a solo shot, right? The problem is if his command's off and he's got a bunch, he's walking a bunch of people, and things can get ugly. But assuming he's pitching well, Zunino's still a home run threat for sure. So I'm fine with him in all places. But that's basically it. Maybe Nola's in the lineup, no Austin Nola, but
he's probably going to lead off versus Luzardo. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, who cares? I mean, they're all fine.
I mean, Zunino, you absolutely can see him going 1 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and a home run. Like, that's like, wouldn't shock me. So for sure it's in play. The Sanchez thing, like, the ballpark we talk about all the time in Baltimore, but like the fence is left field, so it been moved back and raised, so it hurts righty power more than lefty power, just as a general thought. And like, Sanchez is one of those guys that's been kind of rough the last. If he's 28% on Gary Sanchez as far as ownership seems a little high. By the way, no Brandon Lau in that Tampa Bay lineup. We didn't mention that. We ran it down, but we didn't really think about it. But Lau did not crack that Tampa lineup. He probably.
Well, I actually wanted him in the lineup, but
yeah, with his potential K upside, I get it. How about first base? First base, in theory, should be better than catcher. Hoskins, I'm good with him. But Mancini is cheap on both DK and on FanDuel. I think it's a reasonable spot to land. Jose Miranda, who I've been playing a ton of and unsuccessfully, has now moved to first base on DK. He's 2.1K over there. I believe in the talent, and I don't really think Watkins is very good, so I'm okay with having him in the mix. What do you have as far as first?
Number 3 Twins, third ranked Twins prospect, Miranda. So I've been playing him too for min price, just hoping and waiting for him to pan out here. Hasn't done much yet.
No.
but and now he's moved down to the bottom of the order. Or no, yeah, he is, right? Like he's batting down further tonight, right? Yeah, he's 8th. So probably makes sense that I'm not going to play him, and he's going to homer for the first time, right? Isn't that how it works usually?
I mean, you only notice these things when it happens, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
By the way, the mush is real. I want to just say thank you yesterday for the afternoon slate when I was watching the show, and you said, Birdie, this is a guy who can steal a bag. Of course, he has absolutely zero power. You said zero power whatsoever. And, 2 dingers later. And thank you. Just want to say thank you.
So, you mentioned this pre-show, 32 years old, John Birdie, 12 home runs going into the slate yesterday in his career. The other wild part is that Birdie hit 2 home runs yesterday, which is more than 4 of the most coveted free agents that were signed in the offseason combined. Trevor Story, Marcus Semien, Carlos Correa, and Chris Bryant. They have 1 combined home run, and John Birdie hit more home runs yesterday than $600 million worth of free agents.
Yes, sir. But yeah, if you're going cheap first base, Trey Mancini has struggled as well so far. This season has did just come off of a 3-hit game. The hits he's been stringing along here, so we're waiting for that power to blend in. He has 1 homer earlier a little while ago, but so Trey Mancini is cheap. Mountcastle's cheap too, depending on they're both kind of cheap. They're both on FanDuel and DK. Jesus Aguilar, who just went deep yesterday. The story, we don't know the story on Martinez yet. We know the story coming back, from overseas there. And but he's a slow thrower. Like he doesn't have much of a fastball. We'll see how it all plays out. But I'm still trying to attack this guy a little bit. I think he's okay, but he's someone I'm fine attacking. You got the BVP call with Alonso.
What's that BVP? Is the sample size big enough for you?
Let me check it.
Yeah, I was happy he chimed in and let you know.
It's got a nice sample size. 34 at bats, 4 homers, 12 hits. I mean, that's as good as you're going to get for BVP. That's about the cream of the crop right there for a sample size. No.
The Goldie versus Mad Bum was like 80 at bats or something like that. It's a huge number.
Huge number.
And there was a pitcher that Ichiro had like 100 at bats against. I can't remember who it was, but I mean somebody. I
miss Ichiro.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun.
That swing was amazing. And Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing was probably the most pure of all time. But
something about that left-handed side, like it just looks sweeter, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Yeah, remember in Darryl Strawberry, he had
yeah. I started watching that 30 for 30 on the Mets, the 86 Mets, and that debauchery on that team, the Strawberry and Nails, Dykstra, and Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling. Gary
that's if you were that's probably the pinnacle of where you want to be as a player. I mean, they were just having a lot of fun, is what I
maybe too much fun. Some people would say they were. It's a 4-part series. If you,
didn't Doc Gooden go on the mound on acid? Didn't he say or something?
I didn't get to that part yet, but maybe. Well, no, there was the famous guy for the Red Sox who threw a no-hitter in the 70s on acid, right? There was a guy.
Yeah, maybe I'm mixing them up.
I think you're combining stories, but Doc did
have very possible. As in a matter of fact, I have a friend who actually believed, what was that movie with the Celtic Pride, where they
Boston Pride.
Yeah, they
Celtic Pride. Damon Wayans and Daniel Stern.
Yeah, they kidnapped the player.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, this some dumbass from my chat thought it was real. It believed it, the whole story.
Alex in chat saying the BBP talk is making his brain bleed. Yeah, Doc Ellis. I think that was the guy's name. I think he wrote a book about it.
We're joking about BBP, but
yeah. And David Wells was partying at SNL. He was on SNL like on Saturday night, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Famously, SNL is those parties that go basically all night. And he woke up like, at noon to throw like an afternoon no-hitter against somebody. Like, maybe it was a perfect game, whatever it was. But these wild things that sort of happen. Second base, we mentioned Jose Altuve, and his groin is going to be super, super popular, especially on Fanduel, where he's just 2.9K. He's facing a lefty. We know how he smashes them historically. Pretty good price on DK as well. How do we get away from that?
I mean, he's cheap. He's cheap everywhere. You don't. I mean, just coming off of just banged one out the other day. I think he's fine. I mean, if he's in the lineup, he's fine, Dean. All right. The guy had a cup on for or something, so he's good to go. He gets the platoon against Skubal. Skubal's a good pitcher for sure, and I like him. And I think that if you want to get like crazy tonight, like that's kind of that's a strong leverage play tonight, and he's has all the talent in the world, hasn't put it all together quite there. But anyway, the one attackable bullpen is the Tigers pen, behind there. So, I mean, it is a good spot for Altuve. You can certainly go Jazz if you want to pay that high exorbitant price on DK to be a little bit different.
I think that's a great way to be different personally.
Yeah. I mean, cause there's ways to make everything fit tonight. I mean, you can do kind of whatever you want. I mean, you can get down low with pitcher because Nola's too cheap. Urquidy is in a great spot and cheap. So you can kind of play around. There's a couple of cheap bats here and there for value. You can kind of make whatever you want work. So a way to make that different would be to play Jazz. Yeah, there's not a lot to love other than that, really. Polanco batting third in the best game, the best matchup environment against Watkins. Hasn't done much either this season so far, but great order spot. Cheap too, 4,300 on DK. He's probably my favorite. I mean, I just don't. Unless you can convince me to not play the Twins, I'm trying to I really think the Twins go off in this game today.
They're just your favorite stack, and if
you and it's like even though they're chalky, like I just want to eat it, and then I'll figure out either with pitcher I'll do something a little bit different, or I'll load in a couple of different bats somewhere.
Well, your friend that believed Boston Pride or Celtic Pride was based on a true story, did he also believe that Dan Marino was kidnapped during the Super Bowl? Did he buy that story as well?
I don't know. We'll test that out tonight, and I'll get back to you on that one.
Ace Ventura was based on a true story. Hot corner, third base, Bregman again, versus the lefty. And Skubal, like you're right. We think Skubal's all right, sure. Alec Baum looks pretty good to me as well in the heart of that, Philadelphia lineup, batting second. Taiwan Walker is not a big splits guy, pretty neutral, so I'm fine throwing righties or lefties against them. And you talk about the two big boppers on Philly. I'm good with all of them, like Castellanos as well. I'm gonna have a good bit of Philly as well as Houston and your Twins. Talk to me about third, and we actually kind of have to pick up the pace. Cheese and Will are going to come in there shortly, and they're going to go around the horn as well too. And Cheese will probably do it much more efficiently. And whatever we don't get, they're going to knock out. Don't worry about it. But what do you have as far as third base?
Bregman is the number one with the platoon. Alec Bohm is a great lineup spot. Number two, starting to come around. Started off real poorly, and then he's kind of flipped the switch here, and embraced by he was the one who was saying he hated Philadelphia. Did you see that? Like when all of that?
It was interesting. Yeah,
but now
I hate this place.
He's back in good graces now. Machado is one of the top bats on the slate. I mean, the guy, I know people, whatever, he is a lefty masher, has always been, but regardless, he's just a really solid bat and is starting to heat up here. So like him, I mean, those are the Gio Urshela stinks, but is in the game, in the matchup that we want with batting fifth. So, and
he's kind of toast, right? He's kind of dust Urshela.
I mean, he's never been good. He completely overachieved when he was on the Yankees and had that one season, and then and it earned him. I mean, they got rid of him, but he's doing fine over at Minnesota. I mean, he's not very good, but it doesn't mean he can't hit one out tonight against Watkins. So I'm on board with that. Yeah, I'm always fine playing Yandy Diaz. People don't like to play him. And I remember you showing the picture of him when
he's ripped.
Yeah, he just doesn't hit homers though. And,
he hits a bunch of ground balls. I think. I don't think he hits a lot of fly balls. At least that's what it was at the time.
Homered for me the other homers. Homered for me the other night, or day was it? Anyway, a couple of days ago. I like him. That's it. I mean, Arenado now 5,900. It's going to be tough to play him, but he's probably going to be kind of low owned. So
and nobody's going to play him, and you're just doing it to be different. The ballpark stings. Who knows what the matchup's going to be? Just a mixed bag of arms. Fine for tournaments if everybody being. I wouldn't say you X out St. Louis.
No, I think St. Louis has moved up my ranks now for sure.
Knockout shortstop.
Carlos Correa batting second in the great matchup. There's Javier Baez against Urquidy. If there's someone going to take deep, he's probably the one. Brandon Crawford. Michaelis has been
Mikolas.
Yeah, Michaelis. I've heard it pronounced different ways, but anyway, he is not a strike thrower, and he's 148th right now in swinging strike percentage, 125th in call strike whiffs. I mean, he's very good at, and he's been pitching great, but I'm fine with playing bats against him still. Like, they're going to put it in play. Brandon Crawford is certainly been a solid hitter this season, and is, he just banged one out. Power upside for sure. It's probably going to back cleanup, so I'm on board there. Jeremy Pena is the guy for the Astros, but that's it there.
He's good. Like, he just, I wish he was sitting in the lineup.
The Pepsi Jack in a Bag guy. There he is.
Question in chat. Donnie is saying, in a very large field in DK, is it okay completely fading Minnesota? Is that a mistake? I don't think so. Like, yeah, you could absolutely fade them. If you're making one lineup, if you're making 150, you probably don't completely fade them, but one lineup, no Minnesota, I think is fine.
It's not a mistake either way. Even if you're playing 150 lineups and you wanted to just X out the top stack over time, that's plus EV, I'm sure, for sure. But in playing them, it's also has the highest smash percentage on the slate, right? So there's other ways to get different. So you just got to kind of look at ownership, see how there's ways to make your lineups different, and just picture the path of getting to the top in whatever contest you're in. That's what I always try to do. Like, how am I going to get to the top? It doesn't always work out. Most of the time it doesn't work out, but you get those spots. So you can do either way. But all right, where are we going? Outfield now?
Yeah, I do want to mention, though, and maybe producer Steve can go and drop this link in chat for the people. We're giving away, it seems like every single day, a different piece of RG content for premium members, giving you all a taste. Today, the Mlb Expert Survey is free. Mr. Tuttle, Grant, Keith, TJ, Dave Potts all talk about their favorite hitters in large field, favorite pitchers. They rank their stacks 1 through 5, all sorts of other good stuff. Their favorite salary saver. I partake in that as well several times a week. Go ahead and get it. The Mlb Expert Survey, we're going to go ahead and drop that in chat for y'all just a second. And if you're not premium members, this is what you're missing out on. This amongst a pile of other things. Knock out some outfielders.
All right, outfield, Buxton is the top play on the slate. He's going to be extremely popular, and that's reason enough to fade him if you want. I'm probably going to be playing him because the contests I'm in are probably going to be smaller field stuff, and I'm going to look ways to get different. Kepler is going to be another, great play. I mean, at least the putting out the fences doesn't affect left-handed power in Baltimore, and Kepler is a guy that certainly can put up a couple of homers in this game. Cedric Mullins is a really strong play, and people just don't play him enough in general, I think. But always leading off, and he's not like he's going to be low owned tonight. He's going to be some chalky, but he's a strong play. Harper and Schwarber are like my two favorite home run upside guys.
Harper or Buxton, you got to pick one.
I mean, I feel really confident that Harper is going to, I think they're both going to dong tonight, but I feel really confident in Harper for some reason. So Bryce, I'll take Bryce over Buxton.
Yeah. I mean, you can play them both too, but I imagine they're both going to get pretty good size ownership because salary is not that tricky. You can certainly play both those guys. I'm looking at ownership projection on DK right now. Buxton at 35%. That's a big number. 6-game slate, obviously. That's kind of at the threshold, isn't it? 35. Is that kind of at the threshold for you?
Yeah.
Let's see. Anything else? Castellanos looking at 19%. Margot batting third is 2.8K. So he looks like one of the interesting cheapies. And as always, like the Houston lefties are going to be ignored, not ignored, but you know what I mean. Lesser owned, Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker against Skubal. And you talk about that bullpen. If you hit a homer in the 7th or the 8th inning, it counts just the same, right? So
that's I really like that. I like Houston, like those lefties. Skubal's been really good against left-handed throughout his short career. The problem with him is like he has such a plethora of pitches. He's got like the full arsenal to be like amazing, but he never has them all working at the same time. So it's like, it's always something that's a problem with him, but he can get into some damage too. And like you said, that's the bullpen I want to attack tonight. So Yordan and Tucker for sure. Like those big upside plays tonight.
Give me
and then there's Jorge, there's Soler, the bats play Soler.
And just to reiterate your favorite stack or two before we bring the crunch time crew in.
I think for lower, my favorite is obviously Minnesota. I just think they're gonna hit tonight. And then I also like St. Louis on the sneak. I like Miami kind of like for a lower owned one.
Hey, let's help Doug out in chat. Fanduel tournaments. He's playing Dolby or Arenado. Which Cardinal do you prefer amongst those two?
Arenado.
There you go. In case you guys missed it, Rotogrinders has been busy behind the scenes making our RG app better than ever now. With the tap of a button, you can see all the premium tags and plays for the day, ownership summaries across all positions, the expert rankings, all that in one place. That's not all. You can seamlessly jump into the mobile lineup HQ app to build one lineup or multiple lineups. If you're like me tonight, I'm building a bunch of lineups on FanDuel. We're going to have to tend to some because I believe some of those guys have been, they're not in the starting lineup, and that will be suboptimal to play them. With the swipe of just your finger, you can lock players or remove them from your pool. And then when you're satisfied with your player pool, if you like it, just hit build and you can see all the players you have exposure to, as well as each individual lineup. Download the Rotogrinders app today and try it out for yourself. We should have the Crunch Time crew knocking on the door. It's Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. It's Dave Potts. It's Will. You guys with me?
Yeah, we're here, man.
Sure.
How you doing?
I just want to say one thing quickly. I just want to say that wasn't quite as good of a promo read as when you do the lawnmower 3000, Dean.
It was a long promo. I was like, this promo is never ending. That's a long read, man.
I read that cold too, and I improvised. I added a little bit of personalization in there. I thought that was, and I'm playing under the weather. I'm not, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I'm a little bit off my game. So, at the risk of patting myself, pulling the old Barry Horowitz, I felt like I did a pretty good job.
Right, well,
I just wanted to.
Nobody else agreed.
Everyone's dead quiet.
I just wanted to say lawnmower 3000, and that was how I got it in there. I'm sorry.
I just want to know, like Dave, Will, how are you factoring in Jose Altuve coming? Did you guys see the Altuve play yesterday where he hit a ball right on his junk midsection, Johnson?
Straight to the junk. Yeah, that's rough, man.
Is that built into the bat? I don't know how to, he's a gamer. He's giving it a go today, Cheese. Are we assuming he's full good, full bore?
Yes, he is fine. He let me know. He texted about 10:30 this morning and said everything is fine. He slept in, had some extra ice. Everything's fine, he says.
All right. That's all I wanted to know. I'm going to step aside and make way for y'all. Knock out the crunch time. Do appreciate whoever was with us on the old YouTube. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Don't go anywhere because now is the start of crunch time. Sponsored by FanDuel. Roth, it's all yours.
Appreciate it, Dino. Thank you, guys. Yes, as he mentioned, officially right now, this is crunch time. Sponsored by FanDuel. Do my best, Dean. I've got my own read here. Check out the FanDuel 150K Thursday MLB Squeeze Contest. $30K to first, $5 to enter. That's pretty good. $5 for a chance at $30K. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state. New users get a risk-free bet up to $1K, and FanDuel Sportsbook users take advantage of that. They get to receive that bonus with their first-time bet. So good stuff there. Also, the MLB Expert Survey is free today. I love the Expert Survey. It's one of my favorite things we do. If you just want to get a good snapshot of what's happening and what the sharpest minds are thinking, they ask questions like, who's your favorite stack? Who's your favorite sneaky stack? What's the chalk that you like? What's the chalk you don't like? And it's multiple of our RG experts that are giving you that information. So head, go over the little MLB header, drop down, hit the expert survey, and it is free today. So please enjoy that and give us a little like and subscribe on the YouTube because we are joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. Dave Potts, aka Cheeseisgood. How are you, my man?
I'm doing just fine. The slate is nonsense, but everyone's playing with the same slate, so I'm fine with that.
I feel like we like nonsense. I think we thrive in nonsense.
Yeah, it can be all right. I mean, it seems more fun when there's like a whole bunch of obvious great chalk, but really, I mean, everyone knows it, so it's not necessarily any more fun than when you got to get a little creative.
Right. I'm game with that. And speaking of creative, for some of the hottest tournament takes in the biz, we got Chief joining us as well. Chief, how are you?
Doing good, man. Interesting little small slate, if you will. I think the last time I really crushed, like I've had some memorable tournament ones, but I feel like a Cardinal stat won me all the money on one of these 6-game slates one time when Big City was there. That the original St. Louis Cardinals, of course, Matt Carpenter was hitting that day.
Naturally,
Nolan Arenado was nowhere to be found. Paul Goldschmidt was still in Arizona, and it was an interesting little slate that time. But I do remember Big City, and Matt Carpenter, I think, carrying me to the top of the leaderboards that day. What a slate that was.
It sounds glorious.
Yeah, well, we got to run it back. We got to run it back. We got to win the people the money, Chief. Yeah. You had like a genuine smile as you started out. So you're like,
well, he's thinking about Matt Carpenter. I mean, we all have a smile. It doesn't get much better.
Guys, let's talk about this slate a little bit. The only weather issue is in Cleveland, and it's going to be fine. They're going to play through it. I'm not even certain that's on the slate, Cheese.
No, it's not.
All right, so it doesn't matter.
That game started in about 8 minutes, isn't it?
Yeah, that's coming up
soon. But the game's going to be fine. It's good pitching weather if you're interested in prop bets or whatever. But we're focusing on the DFS here, so let's chat about it. And let's start with some of the pitchers. Cheese, I think if I've been reading my tweets properly, we at least have some good pitchers on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, the pitching is definitely ahead of
the hitting.
Yeah. So the pricing is pretty different between the sites, mostly because of Aaron Nola and Jose Urquidy. On FanDuel, you can kind of choose between McClanahan and Nola right around 10K. I prefer McClanahan, but they're both great. It's just McClanahan has been better. Like this season, the guy's in, and it looks real, and he's got the better matchup. So I'm on board with McClanahan. On DraftKings, you can play both of them, and I do recommend that in a majority of lineups. The other sort of high upside pivot off those two is Robbie Ray. He's been hit and miss this season. Like we don't know if he's going to, roll back to last year when he was just elite. Like so far it's not there. McClanahan and Nola are better, but he's the third guy that I like. On FanDuel, Jose Urquidy is 6,800, which is a huge discount from those guys. And he's got the Tigers. He's not the same level of pitcher, but the matchup and the salary on FanDuel are great. So I do like him where you need to go cheap. On the DraftKings side, McClanahan's 9,700 and Nola's only 8K. So there, Nola sort of takes over as the at least points per dollar ace, but you can get both of them if you want. Urquidy is not as cheap there. So he's sort of just I'm fine like doing Nola with him if you can't pay up to Ray or McClanahan. But if you're trying to go cheap, you're stuck with either Tariq Skubal, who is good, but terrible matchup against Houston, or Chris Archer, who is not good, but good matchup in Baltimore. I have a little bit of both of those guys, but really I'm trying to spend as much of the top, I'll call them 4 pitchers as I can. You could also throw Jesus Luzardo in there. But he is another guy that, while he's good, the matchup is not, and he's not cheap. So I don't love him.
All right, Chief, let's get some pitcher takes from you here, specifically tournaments.
Yeah. So I think for me on FanDuel, it is McClanahan. Like, and I'm not sure if you guys read Cheese's article or not, but McClanahan this season, these numbers are just, I mean, this is like Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer days of old numbers. Just it's through the roof. I mean, he's got a 39% K rate for what it's worth. It's 40%. And he's got a 2.32 xFIP, which has me even more excited. Like that's what really has me excited. And then the walk rate's at 6.5. That's this season. But I just think in terms of today, he does feel like the number one guy. And I did want to focus on DraftKings a little bit more for pitching today, because I do think on FanDuel, if you got McClanahan or Ray, like, I think you're just fine. Like, I don't think you have to go off the beaten path too much. And I know, Cheese, if you read the article, he kind of grouped the next tier down, like the Luzardos and these other guys. They're kind of like this other separate tier. But I do think on DraftKings, because of the salary distribution, like, to me, even though it's tournaments, it still feels like the tournament pair is McClanahan-Nola. Nola's still got a respectable, and hear me out, respectable, let's put that in air quotes, 31% K rate, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to pull it back up. I'm pretty sure I'm right. On the season, 31.8%, and he's at a 3.12 xFIP. Matchup isn't as good for the Mets, and hint, the Mets are striking out a lot more against lefties this season for whatever reason so far. He's not a lefty, but I just want to put that out there for future reference. But to me, on DraftKings, you take Nola, you take McClanahan, and you just go from there. In all formats, in my opinion. Like, I don't feel like there's any reason Miles Mikolas at 8,200 should be anywhere near Aaron Nola, outside of the fact that their fantasy point performances have been similar this season for a few games. But Miles Mikolas doesn't have the K upside of Aaron Nola in a general sense. I'm done with pitching.
Okay. All right. Well, it seems like there are a good amount of good pitchers, which leaves us to talk about some of the batters and the stacks. So, Chief, I will let you lead off. What's the chalk, and then what are you doing to get a little different if we're all agreed on the pitchers, kind of?
Well, I mean, it feels like to me, people probably want to play some Houston. Like, there are a couple bats that are up there. And this is FanDuel. Sorry, excuse me. This is FanDuel where, Altuve's pushing 40%. Bregman's pushing 33%. Like, those are two big bats from stacks. In terms of what I feel like is an overall distribution standpoint, like a fair amount of bats in a similar range. Like, if you look at the Phillies, a couple of those bats are in the 20s. I think the big team, though, that everybody wants is the Minnesota Twins. 37%, 40%, 24%, 17, 18, 6, 17. And that's getting down to the 6th spot. And for good reason, they're in Baltimore. I definitely think it's a good spot. Spencer Watkins, I don't think his numbers are stellar. I think he's around a 15% K rate on the season so far. And I think his xFIP is somewhere around 5 or 6. And I guess I need to stop trying to recall these numbers from looking at them earlier and just pull them up.
You're like being too nice to him. Like, he's worse than that.
Oh, he is. Let's see. I'm going to pull this up actually. And 10% K rate, 6 xFIP. The Minnesota Twins do have some strikeouts, but that's very much negated with his awful skills to start the season. So Twins are number one. Of course, on the small slate, do I think you need to fade the Twins? No, not exactly. But I would be more so on the let me find the home runs if I'm not going to stack them. And then I'd be stacking other teams. Like, honestly, I don't mind stacking the Phillies here. I still don't believe in Taiwan Walker. And the Phillies haven't been great, but I feel like that's more of a sneaky team that you could get away with today, who they won't have the complete ownership. If you think Robbie Ray is a fraud this season, Seattle's not Seattle. Tampa Bay's not a bad team. Like, on the season, Robbie Ray's got a 5.1 xFIP. I mean, I do think his strikeout stuff, of course, is ahead of some of these other guys. But on a 6-game slate, I'm more willing to roll the dice on a team like Tampa Bay than if this was an 11-game slate. So those are my sneaky ones. Like, Tampa Bay is very sneaky because Ray still carries enough name value for people to not want to target him. So, like, they're very sneaky. Like, that's like nobody's playing them. Play them today. And if Ray just walks one too many guys and one goes across the fence, he could be gone. And then Philly is kind of my next one up in terms of the ownership factor.
Okay, good stuff. I feel like I have a good grasp of it. Cheese, what is it that you are liking here in the stack department?
So most of what Chief said, I agree with. Like the Twins are the chalk, and sure, they're kind of on top because Watkins is the worst pitcher, but to me, it's just crazy and nuts and crazy that Chief can say something like the Phillies are a little off the radar, and it's true. They should not. To me, that's probably the number one team, and they're like not really in the top couple in ownership. So I think it's clearly the
do you mean the number one team is in they're literally the best stack, or they're the best stack when factoring in ownership?
Before factoring in ownership, just who scores the most runs tonight is the Phillies.
Oh, okay.
So they're far and away my favorite stack, and I think I'll just leave everything else for whatever. There's plenty of other stacks. It's a small slate. Like I've got a lot of stacks, but Phillies are my number one.
Very interesting. Okay, let's talk about some of the position players. Start at the catcher. Cheese, you can lead us off.
So catcher, it's pretty much Gary Sanchez, JT Realmuto, and Austin Nola. I think you can play those three guys on FanDuel, even where you don't have to play a catcher. I really do like them. You can always go cheap on DraftKings just because it's catcher, even though I do like those top three guys. I'm okay with Jeffers too, but like Maldonado at 2,200 is probably the punt I would use if you need a punt. But I like the high end guys enough, and they're not really expensive. Realmuto is kind of expensive, but Sanchez and Nola especially I like.
Chief, you were nodding in agreement. Anything you want to add there?
Nah, that's spot on pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to first base then, and Chief, you can take us there.
Yeah, we were talking about these Phillies, and I'm talking FanDuel currently. I'm going to try to differentiate so people know when I'm FanDuel DK. You can get Kyle Schwarber at first or in the outfield. I do like him at first today. I know we can get Real Muto there as well, and we can get Rhys Hoskins there as well. I don't mind him at first because for the Phillies, and I may not have to get too creative once again because the Phillies don't have nearly as much ownership as I thought they would have. But either way, I don't mind getting them. I think the only way I would play him in the outfield today is if I wanted to get Real Muto, Hoskins, and Schwarber all in one lineup. Then that in that case, I'd have one at first, one in the that flex spot, and then the other one in the outfield. That's how I would get it. But all in all, I do like him. I'm always up for some Pete Alonso non-chalk home run stuff. Like he's just got too much power for me in Philly. Nola's going to probably give up a run or two. And I think if one goes across the fence, it's definitely him. I've talked about Tampa Bay sneakily. Don't hate Yandy Diaz. I know he's not a power bat, but if he would be on base to score runs aplenty if Robbie Ray has a meltdown. And I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. Cheese, I want your take on first. I did get this question from Matt. Does the St. Louis stack move up at all with no Logan Webb pitching?
It does, in the sense that they were off the board for me with Webb pitching. Now they're in the big glob of second tier. To me, they're not any worse than almost every team other than Phillies, Twins, Astros.
Okay. All right. Take us to first.
It's a disappointing day for first base. It's just kind of like, I don't know. What are we doing? Are we trying to pay for something that like Goldschmidt or Alonso, that they don't have the great matchups, but they're good players? On FanDuel, it's helped because we can play Schwarber at first. On DraftKings, similar to yesterday, we're going to run into a lot of really cheap Orioles. Like if you're scraping for salary, there's probably an Oriole sitting there. Mancini, I like a lot. Mountcastle, I like a little. You throw Garrett Cooper in there on the cheap end on DraftKings. And then on the FanDuel side, other than Schwarber and Goldschmidt and Alonso, they're pretty much all cheap. So you can do the Orioles there. Rhys Hoskins is only $3K. Yuli Gurriel is only $2,700. So to me, like all those guys are just fine, but there's no like huge must-play first baseman like we sometimes see, other than maybe Schwarber on FanDuel.
All right, take me to second base.
What if Chief has a comment on first base?
Too bad he doesn't get to.
Yeah, that's
All
what
right.
I feel.
Chief, take me to first base.
Well, I pretty much covered it. Remember, I talked about Schwarber in the game.
I thought he did. Cheese, you're
Okay.
throwing me off. I thought he already
Okay.
did, but all right. Cheese, take me to second base.
Second base is good. I feel like we've been running this all year, especially on FanDuel. Like second base is like the new third base. That's a dumb thing to say, but I think it's the best position today outside of the outfield. On FanDuel, you got a lot of dual eligible guys, which helps, but Altuve, Polanco, Baez, Chisholm. I really like every single one of those guys, and none of them are expensive on FanDuel. I think Polanco and Altuve are the chalk, but I think it gets fairly well split up among those four. Anything outside those four, and you're off the board. DraftKings makes it way tougher to pay for Chisholm. Like 5,700 is kind of goofy compared to where Polanco and Altuve are, but I do like him for tournaments for that reason. And if you need a punt, there's always an Oriole. That's Odor at second base, so maybe you don't want to do that because you can get, the 4K range is pretty good. So I think you pay up a little bit at second.
Okay, Chief, second base.
Yeah, I feel the same way, and I'm glad he brought up Jazz Chisholm on DK because it's air quotes again, but it's absolutely suboptimal to play Jazz Chisholm when Polanco and Altuve are 43 or 4,400, and I love suboptimal on a 6-game slate. So Jazz Chisholm on DK is for sure like he's almost like my guy to go all in on, not all in, but like well over the field. Because of that expensive price tag, like no one wants to play him. And I'm already playing McClanahan and Nola, which is fairly chalky, I think, at pitcher. I still think it's the best combo. Think it's chalky, don't care. But, getting Jazz Chisholm in there is automatically going to be a differentiator. So I like that as well. I want to mention that on DK because the price difference is just drastic. Like when you go to FanDuel, where Jazz is 33 and Polanco's 31, Eduardo Escobar is 31. My guy Eduardo and Jose is 29. There isn't really, there isn't any advantage to, and Jazz is still going to be a little bit lower owned, but it's not as advantageous. Like on DK where he's 5,700, that's like stratosphere pricing. Nobody wants to play him. Hopefully I got that right for the Weatherman, stratosphere. At any rate, I think it's just the guys that she said.
Okay. Alex says, hey, shouldn't we be talking Rays? We mentioned Rays a bit.
I mean, Will gave him a pretty good plug in the stacks. And I think you can play him individually. I think it's so much more a stack against Robbie Ray than a picking out bats. But
yeah,
it's a pretty great stack. But I don't love the guys on their own personally.
Yeah. And I'm going to speak for Cheese, I think. And if Cheese, if me and you're on a different page, then please clear this up. But the idea behind stacking against Robbie Ray is we think if he has a bad game, he's going to give up gobs of runs. He's going to walk guys. They're going to single him and double him. Somebody hits a home run. And that's how you're going to win. You're not going to win with guys hitting, well, I don't want to say that because I am going to say it's a small slate, so it's a little bit different approach. But you're not going to win with 2 solo shot home runs against Robbie Ray. You're going to win if he gets rocked. And that's why you want to stack them versus a guy here, a guy there, and just trying to figure out or pick a home run.
Yeah, you're playing for the old Robbie Ray to show up, and the old Robbie Ray he's either great or he falls apart early, so it's a stack.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Chief, take us to third base.
Yeah, third, Bregman's going to get tons of ownership on FanDuel. He's a great play. God, that's astronomically high. He's at 33% on the small slate. And I start getting uncomfortable, right? Like without Altuve. And they're one of the better stacks, but I just start getting uncomfortable with those numbers on smaller slates because I feel like I can get the same production from somewhere else. And you said, well, that same production, where is it might you add at third? Well, you've got some good hitters like Nolan Arenado, who's going to be facing not as good of a pitcher as he would have. You've got Manny Machado, who while he's facing Luzardo can be a little erratic. If you look at the numbers, he is going to walk some guys. And it's not a great spot per se, but it's good enough when Machado's got a 7% K rate and 375 ISO, 529 WOBA. Like, sign me up. You look at Luzardo's numbers, he's walking righties at a 12% clip. They're almost 13% clip this season. Ground ball rate's low. Hard hit rate is at 51%. If anybody on this team is going to send it out of the park, you gotta think it's Machado. And when you look at his ownership, we've got him at 19%, which is, a tick lower than a guy like Bregman at 33%, when I feel like these two have equal upside. So that's really what it is. I like Machado and Arenado a great bit, especially with Arenado coming in at 5%. And I think that's the Logan Webb effect. Perhaps he creeps up a tad because of the pitching change. But Arenado and Machado for tournaments, those are two of my top third base bats.
Geez, what do you like at third?
Yeah, one of the first things I did this morning was tag Machado as my conviction play for that exact reason. Like, Bregman's cheaper, and he's going to pop, and everyone's going to play Bregman. And I agree, throw Arenado in there now as well. But I want as much Machado as possible.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to bury the lead too far. Like, I want Machado.
Gotcha. All right. That brings us to shortstop. Cheese. So what do we have there?
All right. So we got the same thing on FanDuel as we have at second base. Like, it's just a really good position. Most of the guys are at both positions, and they're all right around 3K. Correa, Polanco, Baez, and Chisholm. And I will throw Brandon Crawford in there. They're all just a little too cheap. You can even play Gio Urshela at shortstop. It's a great position. And I don't think you need to play the Twins. Like, there's no reason the Twins, Correa and Polanco, should be any chalkier than Baez or Jazz or Crawford or even Wander Franco. So they're okay. But, like, I wouldn't be plugging in a whole bunch of those Twins as one-offs when you can play something different unless you're stacking. DraftKings made it a little harder to get Baez. And I think Correa will again be chalkier than he deserves to be. I like Brandon Crawford, and a little bit, I kind of like Ha-Seong Kim. Even though he's not cheap, like, the cheap stuff at shortstop is basically like Camargo if you're stacking some Phillies. Otherwise, everything's kind of priced up. So give me something pretty good, like over 4K, or maybe I'll call it an overpay for Javi Baez, but I like it.
All right, Chief, shortstop.
Oh, nothing extra. I mean, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, well then take us to the outfield.
Yeah, outfield, man, is where I want to get, dare I say, somewhat creative. This is where I start looking at, okay, who am I stacking? And then is there anybody else outside of that? And so here's where I'm going to get to the Rays, right? Because with the Rays, when you look at the outfield, we've got Harold Ramirez, who isn't great. They got Randy Rosarina. They got Manny Margot, right? Like, those are three outfielders. If I'm stacking the Rays, I'll have at least two. A combination of Manny and Randy, or Rammy and Randy. That combination is what I'm going to have. When I get over to Houston, let's say I'm stacking Houston, they've got Brantley in the outfield, Jordan in the outfield, Kyle Tucker in the outfield. Why is this interesting, right, versus Bregman and Altuve? These are all lefties. And look at his ownership. We don't like lefty, but I'm telling you right now, if Houston's going to score runs, Brantley, Alvarez, and Kyle Tucker are going to have something to do with it. Bregman and Altuve aren't going to score all the points. All the runs, they're not going to have all the hits. They're not going to steal all the bases. So I'm okay with these lefty spots. In fact, I may just need to build a full lefty lineup right now and just leave Altuve and Bregman off and hope these lefties just go ham. At any rate, this ownership is way too low on these lefties. FanDuel, Alvarez, 6%, 10% Tucker, 6% Michael Brantley, and we want to stack Houston. No way I don't put these lefties in there. There's just no way. So did want to put that out there. In terms of Baltimore in a one-off sense, I just keep playing Cedric Mullins. Like, man, this guy seems to be really good. And I know I've already had my free Cedric Mullins speech. I mean, last night he was at it again. 5 plate appearances, 2 hits, 2 runs. 1 was a home run. I mean, he's doing it, man. He's doing it. So I like him a lot. And then, of course, the Phillies, Bryce Harper, don't have to sell you on him. Castellanos, don't have to sell you on him. You can get Schwarber in outfield if you want as well. Herrera's batting tonight, 8th, and he's got 0% ownership, basically. Please, I absolutely would be playing Odubel Herrera, and I'm going to cut off my outfield at that.
Okay, Cheese, why don't you pick it up from there and talk about your faves?
Yeah, I mean, as far as naming names, I mean, he pretty much covered what you want to play. I want to kind of touch on something when he was talking about the Alvarez, playing Alvarez and Tucker. What I wrote about in the musings today is this just feels like the slate. If Minnesota doesn't go nuts, it just seems like one of those slates where just one big random inning in the 7th inning off some reliever you've never heard of is the difference in this slate. Like, I don't see this is not one of those, a bunch of teams score 12 runs. It's like a bunch of teams score 4 runs and just the one big inning wins the whole slate. And you can't really project that matchup wise because it's going to be against a bullpen. So yeah, pair up your big name bats and don't really worry about, you don't want Alvarez and Tucker against Skubal. Well, they're not going to face him the whole game. They're going to face it, the Detroit bullpen. Play Harper and Schwarber, but play Castellanos too. Because probably if the Phillies break the slate, it's probably against the bullpen as much as against Walker. So I like spinning up to be a little different if you can. Like, don't feel like you have to just play Buxton in every lineup because you don't. He is the best play, but don't just play him everywhere when you got these other guys that something weird is going to happen and I want to have it.
Yeah.
And Cheese, let me say this too. As much as I like Byron Buxton and his ability to score fantasy points, he could equally go out there and get injured today and be out for 3 weeks. Like I don't ever feel bad about fading Byron Buxton for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't either. The guy's obviously great. I still don't think he's Bryce Harper yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, you guys want to dive into some QQs? We still have 12 minutes, I think, until lock, right? We lock at 45 after.
Yes.
All right. Well, we got oodles of time. So if you guys have any questions about anything at all, bring it on in. Cheese, I'll start with you. Is Taiwan Walker okay from a ceiling perspective, given his price in a DK GPP?
I personally X'd him out. I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world to play him. I mean, he is generally a good pitcher, but he's only like, he was hurt and they're still kind of easing back in. Like, he got 73 pitches last game, so he has a little ceiling, but I don't like the matchup or the pitch count ceiling on him personally.
All right. D-Rock, Chief, DK GPP, is Larnack correlated with Miranda or Mancini? Let me redo that. Larnack correlated with Miranda or Mancini as a one-off. So which of those two?
It sounds like they're trying to maybe get a one on one side, one on the other side, and the answer to me is no. I don't really care about it.
Okay, all right. Mlb Dfs is FanDuel Cash Cheese. Kepler, Baez, or Urshela and Schwarbs?
I would Urshela Schwarber.
Okay. DY says, Chief, in a DK GPP, what are your thoughts on a full Marlin stack with a mini Padre stack? Is that getting too silly, or is that?
No, I don't think so. Nick Martinez is a young pitcher. I don't expect him to go past 5 innings. Jesus Luzardo, on the other hand, is going to have the strikeout stuff, but he could walk too many guys and get into trouble. So I don't hate it. I don't think you have to force that. But it's not the worst idea on a 6-game slate. And I'm not saying that to diminish the idea. I'm just saying you can do it. It's a tournament.
Okay. All right. Let's see. BHB Cheese DK Cash, is your boy Yepes viable?
Yes. Anyone who's free and batting 5th is viable, and I think he's a pretty good player. So I'm totally fine with him. If you need a punt, I think he's one of the better ones.
Great. All right. We'll go to Raymond's question. FanDuel GPP, last man in, Gary Sanchez, Grossman, or Mancini?
Give me Gary Sanchez because of the matchup. I wish I knew the rest of the lineup, but let's just go with Sanchez.
All right. Two people asking the same question at almost the exact same time. Cheese, it's FanDuel Cash, and the question pertains to a Mr. Badu.
You know, like, it's interesting that he's batting leadoff, right? Yeah. That's what is interesting. I really don't like him in cash. Like, I think that's stretching. It's okay-ish, but officially I wouldn't play it in cash.
Okay, great. Tom, DK Cash. Chief, you want Machado and Margot or Bregman and Kepler?
Oh, you already know. I mean, I know it's cash. I'm with Cheese here. I like Machado today. Like, these numbers, they're really good. Like, I'm going Machado, Margot. That's probably more of a tournament take overall.
Yeah.
I still think it's the right play today. I'm going to roll with my conviction on that.
Nice. I like it. All right. D-Dot, Cheese, FanDuel single entry question. It's a 2v2. Robbie Ray and Correa or McClanahan and Badu?
That is McClanahan Badu.
Okay. So there you go. There's
I do like Badu a little bit in tournaments. And I don't like Correa unless it's a full twin stack in tournaments.
Can I mention something else?
Yeah.
Cheese, since we're on Badu, it's really more so about Detroit, because if Detroit did not have these astronomical like strikeout rates, I'd be really interested in Detroit today against Urquidy. Like, I really would. Only because this season Urquidy is at like a 15% K rate, but the xFIP is 5.9, which means the runs are coming at some point if he doesn't fix what's going on. So I did want to mention that I do think Detroit is semi-sneaky. I don't like them better than the Rays, and I clearly don't like them better than the Phillies. But I am willing to attack Jose today for what it's worth. And if I want to play Badu, I think I'm just going to stack a few Tigers with him as well.
Okay, great. Dan Jan says, what about playing Screwball? He didn't say what site, he didn't say what format, but just in general, can you play Screwball?
I think he's DraftKings. I think he's DraftKings tournament viable at the salary. I don't think he's FanDuel viable.
Chief?
Yeah, I agree.
All right. That's the final question. So if you guys have questions, bring it in. We still got 5 minutes to kill. Soon we're going to start talking about Cheese's dessert selection tonight, which is probably ice cream. If I had to guess, is it an ice cream night?
I think I have one piece of cheesecake left.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
I like the fact that you give yourself a dessert every night. Like, you're a dessert guy.
I've earned it.
Why not?
Yeah.
I need to. Let's see. Okay, more QQ. No, got like 6 people typing. Here we go. Crazy Coop. Any love for the Mets? It's not like Nola is untouchable. Cheese. Any love for the Mets?
I like Alonso, and I kind of like Lindor. This is simply a matter of this slate is just weak enough overall that you can stack all of them. Like, I wouldn't at all talk about the Mets. I absolutely have more than one stack of every single team on this slate. That's just what this slate is.
Okay, great. Let's see. Aside, this is for you, Chief. Your preferred last piece as a salary play in FanDuel Cash, Miranda or Camargo? I've got stacks of both teams.
Miranda or Camargo? See, they're pretty equal in my book. I mean, Miranda's matchup is absolutely better. Camargo has a platoon advantage. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull something up, and I'll answer that like ever so slightly. Like 1 second.
All right, that's fine.
Camargo.
In-depth
Miranda
analysis.
Give me Camargo. Miranda, I'll say this. Miranda, if you're stacking the Twins, Camargo, if you're stacking the Phillies. If it's straight up for me, give me Camargo. He's just had more plate appearances and I've got more data, so I can just look at more stuff. So yeah, let's do it like that.
Okay. All right. Cheese, DK, GPP, Michaelis or Luzardo?
I prefer Luzardo.
All right. Let's see. Chief, FanDuel Cash, who's hitting the bomb or Hoskins? The question was actually just who's your favorite, Bomb or Hoskins?
Oh, who's your favorite?
Yeah. FanDuel Cash.
Give me Hoskins.
All right. DY and a DK GPP. Cheese, would you full stack the Giants or are you just playing their lefties?
If I was making 20 or fewer lineups, I would just have a couple mini stacks with the lefties. Once you get into more than that, I have some full stacks.
All right, great. More FanDuel Cash. Let's see, 2,600 and under. Cheese, I'm going to give this one to you. FanDuel Cash, util, 2,600 and under. I can't find anything I like.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough price point. Did you say cash?
Yes, FanDuel Cash.
Yeah, let me scroll. It feels weird to call it a cash play, but honestly, I would play Gary Sanchez.
He's that cheap?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Speaking of here, Dan Jan says, is tonight the night to punt at catcher on DK?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Cheese, I felt like, did you like spending up on some of these catchers, though?
Yeah, I do. It's always viable to punt a catcher, but there's three catchers I really like. Real Muto, Sanchez, Nola.
All right. So you can go either way. And I feel like that's every night at catcher is like you either spend up.
Yeah. You can always punt it, but I do like the expensive guys. It's not an automatic punt for me.
All right. GD says, Chief, I like the top 5 St. Louis stack on DKGPP. Talk me out of it.
I will not.
Okay. Easy enough. Raymond, FanDuel GPP, Grossman or Gary Sanchez. I've got mini stacks of both. And I'm not going to overthink this. Jeez.
I'm playing Sanchez.
All right.
Hey,
Showboat
guys,
King.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, go for
it. Absolutely spend up on DK. My mind was set in FanDuel price where everybody's like 3 and 2, but yeah, DK absolutely spend up.
Okay, that's great. Showboat King says, I want to ask Cheese if it's okay to go pitcher and catcher double Nola in GPPs.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a Nola battery or just?
Yeah, well, they're not on the same team, but yeah. On our team, they would be a battery. Yeah, I really like both of them. Yeah. Okay,
great.
It's my second favorite pitcher and at worst, my third favorite catcher.
All right, we've got about a minute until lock. Sit down, son. Says DKGPP, Soler Santander or Jay Sanchez and Mancini? Chief?
The Mancini combo.
All right, Carolina guy, FanDuel single entry favorite pitcher. I feel like that's your boy McClanahan.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go. Dan Jan, I've got Skubal and Walker with a Mets stack. Is that getting too cute? Cheese?
Say it again.
Skubal and Walker with a Mets stack on DK. Is that too cute?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Booley's FanDuel GPP. Chief, Schwarbs and Camargo, or make my Miami stack into a 4-player and switch to Cooper and Jazz?
Schwarbs, Camargo.
Okay. Chief, is Bomb Herrera in my 5-man Philly stack getting too cute? It gets me Nola and Sugar Shane.
Is that for me or Cheese?
It was actually directed at you. Bomb Herrera in my 5-man Philly stack getting too cute if it gets me Nola and Shane.
No, not at all.
Right.
I like Odubel tonight.
Okay. All right, let's see. Sit Down Son says, I will be celebrating with a big bowl of cookie dough ice cream after the Rays and Marlins score 8 runs each. Chief, you are the ice cream aficionado. Do you approve?
Yeah, cookie dough is always a good choice.
It's good. It has a nice texture to it. And, you're getting a little cookie dough-ish bites, little chewy to it. It's
cookie dough is amazing.
Yeah.
Just as a food product in general.
Can't argue that. All right, we got a game here. CLT says Roth, MLB player or the greatest dual threat quarterback of all time, Peyton Henry, which would be a combo. I think of Peyton Manning and Derrick Henry, but I don't think Peyton Henry was ever a person that played football. Maybe I'm an idiot. Or, oh, now I'm starting to wonder. And there was also, who was the old running back that was Peyton? Walter Payton. There we go. But no Peyton. So there's got to be an MLB player. Peyton Henry, MLB player. You
are too good. I mean, no one's going to fool you on anything. He's catching for Miami tonight.
There we go. Cheese DK Cash, your favorite home run pick. DK Cash.
That's such a weirdly worded question. What does that even mean? Who would I play in cash that I would also think hits a home run, I guess?
It gets weirder after this, but
continue. Okay. Bryce Harper.
Okay. And then Chief, FanDuel Cash, your favorite home run pick.
Listen, I'm rolling with Manny Margot tonight. Listen, these numbers on Manny, it's insane. I like not Manny Margot, Manny Machado. So you got Manny in Tampa Bay and Manny in San Diego. Manny Machado, let me clear that up. I love Manny Machado tonight for home run call. A secret home run call is Odubel Herrera. High K rate, but the ISO and the WOBA is there. It comes across the plate the wrong way, and it's going out the stadium.
Okay. Guys, with that, we have given out all the info. We've answered all the questions, and I have a screaming toddler. So we're going to get out of here. It's all day. For Cheese, for Chief, and for our wonderful production team working hard behind the scenes, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.